success stories told by the people who lived them.
We're going to have some guests on this show that everybody knows, and we're going to have guests on this show that nobody knows yet.
One by one, Nick Hyder is adding hits to the hit streak.
Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hit Streak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder, and in the Hit Lab with me today, I've got an extra special treat for you. I'm proud to call him a friend and a colleague. Folks, I have the recruiting coordinator and director of operations for the Lipscomb University baseball team, my man, Brian Ryman. What's happening, baby?
What's up, dude? Thanks for having me, man. This is it's an honor, and glad to get to come share some time with you.
Well, man, we got, when we first started this show over a year ago, you were one of the first names on our list. Awesome. To bring in, just because of all the stuff that you do behind the scenes. But all the events and everything else, there's a whole lot of business and organizational knowledge that I don't think guys like you get the right amount of credit for, right? We're going to change that.
Well, I appreciate that. And, it's got a lot of good people around me that help me do that. And, we've had a lot of fun doing it as well. So,
man, well, you are in your 17th year of the director of operations at Lipscomb University, yes?
Yep, I'm actually starting my 18th.
Okay,
just finished my 17th, and this will be the start of my 18th. And when I first started there, I never would have thought 18 years. It's funny. I was talking to the computer guy the other day. He's like, "Hey, that old laptop you have is fixing to graduate high school."
Oh my gosh!
You put it to me in that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's the people make the place.
That's right.
Lipscomb has some great people, and seen a lot come and go. We kind of joke with the 4 or 5 of us that are there from 18 years ago. It's last man standing. Who's going to be there the longest?
So you've been there. The Coach Forehand, who is a previous guest, was my coach in college, but you were already at Lipscomb before he was. So who's been there? You're the longest tenured person there, right? Is there anybody that's been there as long as you have?
Yeah, actually, I think Brandon Rosenthal,
our
volleyball coach, was just an unbelievable person, friend of mine. He's probably the senior coach on staff, and Kristen, my wife, she was one of his assistants. Actually, went to school there. And I think John Ezel, our compliance director, probably the longest tenured there, and then maybe Charles Morrow, our soccer coach. And then I think I'm fourth on the list.
Wow.
So it's, like I said, last man standing, I guess.
Well, I've got a whole segment planned to talk about your bride, because she was unbelievable as a player. She's my age, and holy cow, I watched it. It was unbelievable. We're going to talk about her for sure. Folks, check out Brian Ryman on social media at Coach Ryman, also lipscombsports.com, as well as Music City BB on all social media, right? So click those follow and subscribe buttons. You will be blessed, right? So, all right, man. So let's educate some people for a second. So when that's a pretty director of operations. Okay, I think everybody understands what recruiting coordinator does, but if not, let's make sure they understand, what does the recruiting coordinator do at an NCAA Division I university?
Yeah, so I have a really special role with that and Coach Forehand, and again, one thing that Coach Forehand has instilled in me and you as well is relationships, and same with my dad. Him being a scout and getting to be able to talk to so many people, and I have a lot of contacts through baseball, and so basically I'll communicate with travel ball coaches, junior college coaches, even now in the transfer portal, and kind of organize who we want to recruit, and kind of do background checks, and talk to scouts and all that stuff, and kind of organize where I want our assistant coaches to go out to see those kids. And then they kind of report back to me and say, hey, this kid we think can play or can't play. And then that's when we kind of go undercover and try to find out, is he a good fit for our program? Is he about what we believe in, and all that good stuff? So those are just kind of the things that I do, is find it, and then when we do get down the road with recruiting that kid, what are we sending him in the mail, or when are we calling him, keeping track of that kind of stuff. And when he comes in on a visit, coordinating all his travel and his hotel, and his mom and dad coming, Are they following us on social media and just everything that goes into that, and reporting back to, our staff on how we're doing with that kid.
Because of my family and how I grew up, I was blessed with a lot of really great relationships like you. However, I didn't understand, you can have a lot of money and not know what to do with it. And relationships are a currency, man. They are absolutely a currency. And it's funny, the better I got at managing those relationships, growing those relationships, the money grew and followed as well, right? Success came right behind that.
Right. So one of my, I was reading a Forrest Gump book or something of quotes, and one of the quotes that I took out of it was, it said, if you help enough people get what they want in life, you'll get what you want in life. And it's so true. Like, if you basically paying it forward and helping people accomplish what they want, and it always comes back to you.
That's right.
In some form. So
that's right. I also heard Ed Milet say the other day, he said, the person that you are most fit to help is the person that you used to be.
Wow. That's deep, man.
I know, right? It was really powerful. But most baseball coaches were players first.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? So as a matter of fact, the even the guys in the big leagues may not have been big leaguers, but like Buck Showalter, I think he played up to AAA or something like that, right? So, but they were still players,
right? No doubt. And I think I'm sure you see that with your son too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, and that's what my son's 6 years old, and he likes to question me on everything, and I'm like, well, how do you know that? Like, don't you got to trust me that I'm going to put you in the right situation, like we've been there before, and seeing him kind of get that and kind of realize, like, oh yeah, maybe you do know what you're talking about.
That's right.
Same with our college kids, like you said, like, hey buddy, I was you. That's like,
exactly
I didn't
right.
just make that up, man. Like, I didn't wake up this morning and think that was a good idea.
That's exactly
that
right.
happened to me.
That's right.
So.
That's right. Well, man, my dad is a Lipscomb alum, and I'm not. However, my college coach is the Lipscomb coach, so I feel at home when I'm there. It feels like family to me. You know what I'm saying?
You're in the family,
and I spend more time there than I do at my own at my own previous university, and I probably should fix that too. But Lipscomb has a very dynamic, beautiful. It's just a good feeling campus. Besides the anything that's founded on faith is off to a good start, right? It's always going to feel good. But what's the magic thing? Because I'm actually going to be at the prayer breakfast at Allen Arena in a few weeks. It'll probably be after this comes out. But you know what I mean? There's just a lot of good stuff happening there. What's some of the magic things? You've been there 18 years. You met your wife there, right? Man, what's the magic pill?
The people. Yeah, and like I talk about, they've come and gone, but Lipscomb has a way of attracting people that have great hearts and want to see you succeed. I think our professors are really good at that. Like, it's okay to be a small place in a big city, right? And sometimes it's kind of like going home. When you go back to your mom and dad's house when you're in college, things are okay there. That's your safety blanket. And I think Lipscomb's, for a lot of people, is a safety blanket. And I think they generally try to make your dreams come true, and I think that, the faith part drives us, I think the relationships drive us. And I think it's just, for me, I can get to meet friends, and I think, again, that's what drives it is just the overall safety of the place.
One of the things that I've noticed about the program that I've always admired is, Vanderbilt dealt with it back in a long time ago when you had to be really, really have a certain scholastic achievement to even just go there to play. So they used that it was harder to recruit, maybe saying, I guess athletes can't be smart. I don't know. But that was, I've heard in the past, I went to another Christian university across town, and that wasn't you can sell it one of two ways. It's something you either got to overcome, or it's no, we have that. Sure. You know what I'm saying? And you guys have done a great job of making that a perk and a plus of the program and everything else versus, the more the more non-denominational or even non-faith based universities.
Well, I think that's a wonderful point. We get players from from every walk of life. And I go back to, a kid that we had from Miami who probably didn't have any spiritual upbringing whatsoever. And, he's in Bible class and he just comes by the office and he's like, did you know this? And did you know that? And I'm like, kind of like history, right? Mm-hmm. He was like, well, I never thought about it like that. Well, once he kind of thought about like, hey, the Bible is his history, like he just immersed himself in it and he saw it from a different light. And I think that's what we have to do in a lot of areas, right? You got to see it from somebody else's point of view or a different angle. It makes things a lot better sometimes.
It's a great opportunity to grow the kingdom is exactly what it is. All right, so you've been at Lipscomb for 18 years. What'd you do before that?
Well, I went to the University of Tennessee. I was student assistant there, and
Go Vols.
Yeah, I still bleed orange if you cut me open. So I just grew East Tennessee boy, and went to Hiawassee Junior College and played there. And
they had good programs when I was coming up.
Yep. We had a good run while I was there, and actually they just shut down the university here.
I didn't know that.
Yep. So they actually selling off all the land to a Christian community. Okay. So they're gonna still use all the land in the school. So happy about that, but financially they just had come on some hard times and couldn't recover. But before that, went to Jefferson County High School in East Tennessee, and grew up around Carson Newman football, which was a powerhouse back then. And ball boy there. And my dad was a scout for the Pirates, Marlins, and Cubs, so traveled everywhere with him and got to meet again tons of people and see things that a lot of kids wouldn't get an opportunity to do.
Right. So it was kind of in the blood and just all in what you knew, right? And that's kind of the way that it was for me. Like, I don't really know if I ever had a choice to play. It's just what we did. You know what I mean? I would have played if I had the choice, but and if I had the choice today, I definitely would.
Oh yeah.
But it was just what that we did, right? How'd you end up at Lipscomb?
Well,
how'd you end up in Nashville?
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy story. But a good friend of ours, Cliff Terracuso, that was an assistant at Lipscomb. And my dad used to run camps in the winter. And Cliff came to work camp for my dad. And, Cliffy's a friend to everybody. And so we hit it off. And I was at Tennessee, and I got a call from Cliff at one time. He's like, hey, man, you guys are doing great things at Tennessee. And, we're going to have an assistant position open here. And we'd really like your input. And I think you could be a huge asset. And at the time, my girlfriend at Tennessee was from Franklin, and so the wheels are turning. I'm like, oh, this is going to be perfect, and I can move to Nashville. And so after we went to Omaha, I drove straight from Omaha with our chaplain. He dropped me off in Nashville, and started. Coach Fletcher offered me the job, and 2 days after I moved here, we broke up. I thought, what have I done? This is the craziest move I've ever made.
Yeah.
And Cliffy took me out to eat, and funny story, ended up meeting my wife that night.
There you go.
That I'm married to at a restaurant. And so I went home I went back to Knoxville at some point in the summer to get my stuff, and then came back, and here I am 18 years later with the wife and little boy, and part of the Lipscomb community.
That's right. Man, Cliffy T was I would not have played past college if it wasn't for that guy. He made more calls and had so many things happening between him and my dad driving me to every tryout that would have me to get looked at. Like that. Those were the two guys that made it happen.
All you needed was a chance, right? And
yes,
and somebody believing in you. Mm-hmm. Somebody who cared about you, and
that's right.
Those two guys will do it. They did it for me too.
That's right. One of the things that I've said this on here a bunch of times, that I didn't understand. I was just a player. I was just happy to be there. I didn't understand that it was truly a business. I didn't get any of that. It was so far over my head. Most of it was over my head, except for the game. There weren't. I talked to both Coach Forehand and Coach Tim Corbin, when they were in here about like when I was. First, when I got being out of college and I was on my own, I had a little bit of an identity crisis. But then when I was done, I played my last game. I 100% had one. I didn't know who the heck I was, what I was supposed to do in this world, how I was going to contribute to society, how I was even going to make $1. And I know that still goes on, but you guys are doing a lot more now, teaching young men like what comes next. Because how many of them actually like make a living playing baseball that come through a program?
Not many, and I could think about in my 18 years, we've probably had 20 who got to go on and play, in the minor leagues, 3 of those in the big leagues.
Yeah.
That made substantial amount of money. But, that's, we always talk about plan B, right? Plan A is, even on the field, plan A is hitting the ball off the wall, scoring 25 runs a game.
Mm-hmm.
That's easy. That's what it's supposed to be, right? So we practice plan B. Same thing in life, right? Like,
yeah. That's
pro ball may not happen. So, what does plan B look like? And we've done a really good job at Lipscomb with the life skills program. I was telling somebody earlier, like we're teaching our guys cooking classes and resume building and all those things. Like we focus so much more on outside of baseball than we do on baseball sometimes, because those are the things that are going to carry them.
That's right.
Past their 4 years.
That's right.
So
that's what we're really doing, right?
Yep.
That's what we're really doing. Well, man, it's like, when it comes to, first of all, the game itself taught me most of what I needed to know about overcoming things in life and creating opportunities and understanding, anticipating what was coming versus reacting after it's already happened. But like those programs that you guys are putting into place, we had them a little bit back then, and maybe we had them a little more than I give credit, and I just wasn't paying attention. That's totally possible too. Because when I look back, a lot of times it happens. I'm like, I remember when they told me that. Now for me, it's reference. I'm late to the application.
Sure.
What's it like for, as the kids are their senior seasons, they're looking to get out? Because I've said multiple times how I feel like 40 years ago, you went to college, you got out with a job. There was a job waiting on you when you left, and not so much anymore. I've interviewed 200 kids that just got out of college that have no idea what they're going to do in life and really have no skills yet that they've developed, versus kids that went to college for something. They've got they invested 4, 5, 6 years, all this money, and now they know how they're going to get their return. There's a lot of kids that do that don't know how they're going to get their return on that. I was one of those guys too. After baseball, I had this diploma. I've never made $1 from my diploma. That's my fault.
Me either. The one thing we started talking to about our kids, and you'll hear, we should make a T-shirt of it, but the number one thing we talk about now is you want to be a hire that guy.
Oh, heck yeah.
And
that's what I'm talking about.
And what does that mean? I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to be the best student, right? But do you show up every day? Do you show up on time? Do you motivate everybody else? Do you make everybody else around you better? Do you handle your business? And that's what I look for in the recruiting, is can they handle their business? And what is their business? Do they treat women right? Do they go to lifts when they're supposed to? Or are they practicing hard? That's their business, because those things are easy, right?
Yeah.
And those things are, if they can't do those in high school, how are they going to do those things when they get here? And time is of the essence for us, right? And we only get them because the NCAA rules for so long. Like, we don't have time to deal with what should be given.
That's right.
So, but yeah, Coach says it all the time. Like, somebody will come back and throw out the first pitch, and he'll say, "That's a hire that guy. You need to be like him. Hire that guy."
I love that.
And, Jeff and I always talk about, like, we'll have kids come by the office like, "Hey, can you help me get a job?" Well, are you a hire that guy or are you not?
Yeah.
That's already been determined.
That's right.
I mean, there's certain people that it's like, I'd pick up the phone and call Nick Hyder right now and say, "Nick, you need to hire this guy."
That's right. And if you made that call, I would.
Right. And that there's some guys that if I'll tell Nick too, I'm like, "Hey, Nick, if he calls you, it ain't on me. He's not a hire that guy."
Gotcha.
And I think Coach Warren would tell you the same thing, but they all have the opportunity, and I tell them as freshmen when they walk in the summer, I'm like, "Look, we're going to lay this out for you. you just follow the path.
Yeah.
And some of them can't follow the path, and those are the ones that become not unhireable.
That's right.
You know? So.
That's right. You know, people have asked me, based on the comments I've made about college, like, Nick, I don't feel like you would send your kids, you'd want your kids to go to college. No, I 100% do. I just don't want them to go there and waste 4 or 5 years of life and a lot of money and not know what to do with, how to apply what he's learning there, right? So if anything, there's 4 or 5 years to build some great relationships that you can leverage and use in the future, right? Sure. So I 100% do believe in college. I just don't anymore. I don't believe in partying for 4 or 5 years and then not have anything to fall back on when you're done, right?
Yep, I'm 100% with you on that comment, no doubt.
So in 18 years at Lipscomb University, you guys have had some. First of all, it was a dynamite NAIA program back in the day, and then making the transition to D1, there really wasn't like there wasn't a big gap and like a big fall off or anything. You guys have always like held your head above water and done really good. But man, like you guys have a knack for just when you need those big dynamic moments, they happen. And I can like the first time that y'all beat Georgia and all those things back in the day, that was like, it was a good season, but then that happened and it just changed the whole dynamic of everything, right? What do you credit to be like, you guys just keep doing it? You just did it on opening weekend this year. Like you just keep having those moments.
You know, I think Jeff talked to our team about this on Tuesday night, and we didn't play well. And, you know, we talk about peaks and valleys. You know, we don't ever want to play in that peak and valley. You want to stay consistent, just stay on that line. And, you know, what does it take to stay on that line? And, you know, I think a lot of that is built on the trust and relationships, you know. And, you know, you and I have a great relationship with Jeff, and we trust and believe in what he says. And when they take that same concept and believe in each other and hold each other accountable for, you know, what they've put in and what they've done and what they believe, then that's when you start to do, you know, some pretty special things regardless of talent. You know, and we have a really talented team this year, but that's the things that make those kind of events. I mean, we still talk about, you know, we just had our Hall of Fame induction. We put the 3 Pro Ball guys in there, and, you know,
what a class, by the way.
Oh yeah, I mean, for a small school like Lipscomb to have 3 big leaguers, all on the same team. I mean, that's another reason why we beat Georgia. But
yeah, baby.
But you know, just to see their teammates come back and the things that they say about them, and the relationship that we still have to this day, like it's like they're still on the team.
Yeah,
you know, like all the group text and the chats, because they believe in each other, they trusted each other, and they bought into the system, you know, and the scheme of things that we were doing, and that's why they won.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, there was three talented guys on that team, but the role players, believed they were just as good. Oh yeah, you know, as those from a talent standpoint.
Absolutely.
You know, so
absolutely. Well, the a teammate is forever, man. Like that's the coolest. I tell people all the time, like there's friends, but teammates are different. Yeah, they're different. Like you are literally closer than family for the time that you're together. And I still, even the guys that I haven't seen in 15 years, when I do bump into them, it's just like nothing. You just pick right up where you left off.
No doubt. I mean, you know, I was fortunate to in college to live with, you know, some big leaguers, and Luke Hochaver was in my wedding, and, you know, his first round pick with the Royals, and he even said that at our wedding. You know, he's like, look, we don't see each other for 2 or 3 years at a time, but as soon as we're back in any setting, it's like we're still in college, and we picked right back up from what we were doing when we left there, you know, and it's so true. And, you know, teams that win, you know, have that bond stronger and have figured that part out.
That's so powerful. And it's the same thing, you know, in the workspace, your teams and teams that win have something special and unique, and it lasts forever.
Yep, no doubt. And you know, and you can. It's crazy to me, like the teams that we've had that have won. Like you know, I think somebody asked me earlier, is like, is there a point of the season where you're just like, man, I can't wait for this to be over? Well, other than before opening day, because you're so just exhausted from all the other things. It's like the team that we have now and the relationships that they have, like, no, I don't want it to end, because it's amazing. Like, who knows how far this team can go,
right?
But they do have that whatever that is.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. I tell the parents on Ethan's team a lot. You know, they ask a lot of good questions, and you know, how does the captains on the teams get picked? How does the lineup get made? I'm like, well, they pick the captains, and at the end of the day, they make the lineup too. I'm just the one that writes it down. You know what I'm saying? But like, that's the thing, is like, especially as they get older, it's on them. I'm just writing down my perception of what I see.
Sure. And you know, we don't per se have captains. We have standards, and you know, the older guys hold the younger guys to those standards. You know, they know, and they really are captains, but we just don't showcase it with the C on their chest or call them that or whatever. But they know who the leaders are.
That's a powerful word that I finally started learning how to use, and somebody defined it for me as like, your standard is just what you'll tolerate.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So like, if you tolerate losing, you have a losing standard.
I mean, Jeff sent the team a text this morning about practice, and all it said was what we were wearing and get to the standard. You know, and I mean, I'm sure you have that for, you know, the guys who work for you. You know, what is the standard? I mean, the standard of this podcast is obsessional. I mean, you know, wonderful. You know, I mean,
it's got to be top notch, or we ain't doing it.
Right. You know, and Coach, you know, he says that everything, how you do anything is how you do everything.
So the hire that guy. Well, there's still like, there's the guys that you're like, hire that guy, but then there's also the leaders, the guys that grow up to be the coaches or the CEOs or the speakers or whatever it may be, right? So what are some of the traits that you guys see? Like, it's almost like there's 3 levels of person. There's the person that's not that don't hire the guy, then there's the hire the guy, and then there's the leadership one up top. What would you call that one, and what do you see in those people? Young people, listen up here.
They don't miss any opportunities. You know, those guys are usually the first ones in the clubhouse, the last ones to leave. They like we talked about a minute ago. They handle their business, and I'll take for instance, we just had a kid, Maddox Houghton, play for us for 5 years, and people ask me all the time, like, who's the best player you ever had? Well, that's a 2-part question, right? Talent wise is different.
Yeah,
best player we ever had is Maddox Houghton, and in my 18 years, I could say that with all confidence. And why is he the best player we ever had? He's a 4.0 student. He is won the Byers Award, which is the highest honor a student athlete can get at Lipscomb. Played every day for 5 years.
Wow.
I think he came out maybe 2 or 3 innings because he got hit in the face or something. Somebody asked me, he's like, did you ever have an issue with him? I said, I don't know that I did. And I had to think back. I was like, I don't think I even sent him a text to, hey, you know, you didn't turn something in, or hey, get your laundry in, or get your food order in, or clean your lock. I don't think I ever in 5 years, think about it. Like, most people, I just got to get them for 4, but for 5, I never said a word to him.
Wow.
He just handled his business every day. He led by example. You know, he ran every ball out. I think the worst thing he probably ever did was like slam his bat in the bat rack, you know. And I think, you know, he had this demeanor about him. You know, if somebody was out of line, he would just go speak to him, you know, and say, hey, this is not how we do it. He held people accountable, and not in a demeaning way, just like, that's not the way we do things here.
That's right.
You know, and he was the first one, and you weren't going to beat him. And you know, and I think our game, and you know this, it has a way of rewarding those kind of people. I think you do in business too, right? Those
Absolutely.
people who do things the right way and work hard, at some point you're going to get rewarded. So we hired Maddox as our volunteer coach, and he's going to be an amazing coach. And because of a relationship that we had of a kid that we recruited in the past, who committed to us and then decommitted, think about that.
Okay.
We still have an unbelievable relationship with him as a scout now.
Okay.
He calls me out of the blue, and he's like, hey, need a high-character outfielder. Don't expect him to do much. Just need an unbelievable high-character person who's going to make us look good. And I said, I don't know why you haven't called Maddox Houghton yet.
Yeah.
2 days later, the Minnesota Twins signed Maddox Houghton, and he's in spring training right now.
Get out.
And because of who he is, how he does things, the leader he is. And I told him, I said, I fully expect you to call me this time next year and tell me that you want him to come back to spring training and he's going to AA, because that's, I mean, maybe he not, but that's the kind of person he is. He's going to make everybody else, your bonus babies and stuff, are going to get better from just being around him. Who knows? He might be the coach of the Minnesota Twins one day.
That's right. You know, it's funny. He had to be good enough to play at that level, so he's a great player, but you didn't mention one stat.
I couldn't tell you what he hit one time. I will tell you this. We recruited him as a shortstop. We go to Purdue, our first weekend of his freshman year, our shortstop gets hurt, or our center fielder gets hurt, and Jeff puts him out there in BP, and he played for 5 straight years. Never complained, never questioned us, and played center field for us for 5 straight years.
That's killer. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. So, well, tell me the story. So we were talking about your wife and how. So I went to Trevecca. She played at Lipscomb. I saw her play volleyball and I saw her play softball. At softball, it really at both, but especially at softball, it wasn't fair. She was playing at a different level. Don't tell her that. She was playing at a different level, man.
Yeah, she is much like you. I outkicked my coverage.
That's right.
And just a phenomenal athlete, phenomenal student, phenomenal person. Mm-hmm. And she probably could have played basketball anywhere she wanted to as well. She still can shoot it. And but 3 just got to be too much.
Yeah,
at the Division I level.
Oh yeah.
So she played volleyball for Coach Rosenthal and had most of the records there until recent times when they've gotten broken. But softball is her first love, and she took over the program at 23.
It's incredible,
and she's done very well. And
dude, at 23, I couldn't even keep my bank account in the positive.
So I think she's closing in on 600 wins or something already.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so
she's not dude, we're not even old yet.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
That's crazy.
And she's like a lot of the legendary coaches. Like I told her, I'm not staying that long. I'm gonna have to pull her off of that field. They're gonna bury her there probably because she's obsessed with it. Mm-hmm. It's her whole life. And I told her, I was like, hey, I'm getting me an RV and I'm going to watch Porter play if he's playing, and we'll stop by and see you guys. But she's done really phenomenal, and she's got her teams. Not only are they good on the field, but they finish in the top 10 every year in GPA, and she gets it. I mean, off the field is just as important as on the field for her too.
Absolutely. What is so that's got to be what's it like being at the same university, 2 different programs? There's a lot of synergy, I'm sure, because we were really close as baseball players in college to the softball team.
Sure.
But I mean, dude, I'm telling you, it was just the ball sounded different when it came off her bat and when she threw and stuff like it. We went to go watch the softball games when Lipscomb played so we could watch her play. I'm telling you. But she's like you mentioned, she's also smart. She gets all the things that matter. And you guys are probably seeing it. I think it's cool when you coach and you're raising kids. When you're raising kids, that's the greatest gift God can give you besides Jesus. But you guys have been raising people every day. Now you got your own. So it's almost like you're warmed up. Sure. You're warmed up and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna have any more?
Probably not. I don't want to ever say no or never, but I kind of, with us both being in the coaching, it takes a lot away from Porter, who's our son, but it also offers him a lot of opportunities that a lot of other kids don't get. And we approach it this is Porter has 25 sisters and 40 brothers.
That's right.
And that's a lot of siblings, and he gets to learn not only the lessons and the mistakes that they make, but he gets to be a part of things that kids his age don't get to be a part of. We're talking about cooking classes. We got him in there at our house, cooking and doing laundry, and he's doing our team's laundry, helping our equipment guys.
He's got to love it.
Yeah, he's being teaching them to be a servant leader. That when he goes to do things with kids his age, that they hopefully will be following him.
Yeah,
so that's right. Those foundations, are so important to us, and he may learn some lessons he shouldn't learn, but it's just all part of it. We feel like, and being in a Christian environment too is really huge. And
Absolutely.
sometimes it's chaos. Mom left this morning for Georgia, and Dad's on dad duty this weekend. And again, we talk about all the events and things that I put on, but that's my biggest event.
That's right.
Is where's Porter going? Is Porter going to be at the game today? Is Mom in town? Is Mom not in town? So
Yeah.
it's just a lot of moving parts, but it all works perfectly.
I bet. Well, it's so cool. Jeff was that way with his family as when I was a player for him. Like they were in everything. Like we were just a part of their family. It was, and I can't tell you how big of a deal that is.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, there's just a gap there that's missing, and you never really like. How can you really give something or somebody your all? If it's like loyalty and trust and all those things, one way is dumb. It's got to go two ways.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
We're even, it's funny that you say that. Like, the more that I've been in it, and the longer we start to realize, oh, that's what they were talking about in the past. Like, and we're building a house now, and even in our house, we're designing it for the teams to come to our house and eat.
That's right.
And to hang out, because we do it now in a small house in Creve Hall, and it's like, yeah, it's great that we get everybody there, but it's not functional and stuff. So it's just like, never in a million years we have thought about when we're building our own house that we're building it for other people's kids.
That's right.
And a place where they can come and hang out, or a space that they need, and Porter's big brothers can come over and play video games or whatever it may be. So
Yep.
it's definitely, when Mom and Dad drops those kids off, like I always tell them, like, I'm going to take care of them.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, I'm going to let them grow up. I'm going to be hard on them, just like my dad was me. But if you can rest assured, at the end of the day, when it's all coming said and done, we got them.
That's right.
So
that's right. It's we did the same thing. Always having a lot of people, a big team that worked with us. Literally when we have the house that we pick now, and even designing, we're going through a massive pool renovation and stuff at home. That's what we're building it for people. Yeah. Like that's the purpose. It's got a purpose behind it. It's a purpose-filled life, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm big into cooking, smoking meat and barbecuing, and so that was like I told Chris, I was like, a place where both teams could come, and the outside patio where I can cook for everybody, because that's right. If your belly's full, you're probably happy, right? So,
absolutely.
And I want to
absolutely
keep everybody happy.
Absolutely. Well, man, I want to hear a little bit about the business side, because, like, we talked a lot about the recruiting, but like the director of operations, well, there's a whole lot of operations, especially going on behind the scenes. Folks, check this out. So I've got right here, I highlighted it. You manage the baseball camps. You oversee fundraising, team travel, on-campus recruiting, summer league placement for your current players, and then you coordinate the golf tournament. Is spectacular. It's something that we can't miss. But that's a big deal. And then you have you're the founder of the Music City Classic, which is a premier event nationwide right here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Sure. Well, I mean, again, it's all those events, it's about the people, right?
Yep.
And it's about improving our brand and doing it the right way. Again, you talked about earlier about what attracts people to Nashville, and it's obviously it's the music and it's the people here and all the culture that we have in the city. Well, it's the same thing when we put on events. We want them to have a good time and be a part of what we're doing and have the experiences that we're having. So, the golf tournament, it's been fun to watch it grow, and our first pitch dinner, and again, I go back to your dad a lot and my dad, who two of the most influential people in my life, and things that I learned from them, from tournaments and showcases, but most importantly, just the relationships, and want people to come and have, 3 or 4 hours of fun and not worry about anything else in the world.
That's right.
And support our program, because if they come and have a good time and they have a good experience in those events, they'll want to come back to watch our kids play, right?
That's right.
And I want our product to be good. It's a two-way street. You know,
That's right.
If they're giving, hopefully our kids are giving. You know, so
Absolutely.
that's kind of been my mindset, and you know, it's I feel like being in operations, you know, your job is to make somebody else look good. You know, every day I want to make Coach Forehand look good, and I want the university to look good. And, you know, I have a great team now of interns that we've had for a couple years now that, you know, I didn't have in the past, but it's made me able to go and do more things. And, you know, we started with the Music City Classic, you know, has really helped a lot of schools in Nashville from a recruiting standpoint. But, you know, I was doing travel ball myself when I first got to town, and, you know, we had a really good team. I think we had 12 Division I commits on my first team. And we were in the, you know, top 25 in the country, and your dad was doing tournaments. It was the only thing in town.
Yep.
And we were having to travel like 10 weeks out of town and spending crazy amounts of money. And I sat down with Drew Fan and Larry Day, who were at Vanderbilt, and told them, I said, hey, you guys got one of the premier facilities in the country. We have a beautiful place at Lipscomb, but we have one of the up-and-coming towns in America. I was like, why don't we bring these people to Nashville? And so I got on the phone, and because we had a good team and we had Vanderbilt and Lipscomb as places to play, started calling, and before you knew it, we had 32 really good programs coming, and the next year we went to 68, and here we are, I think, 10, 11 years later, we're going to hit 400.
That's incredible,
year.
dude.
Yeah, so it's
congratulations. That's fantastic.
Never imagined we'd get to where we're at now with all that. But
well, just doing it on your own is hard enough, but like you've had to do it like with all these. I mean, how many times has the NCAA changed compliance and regulations and things like that? And that affects everything that you do.
For sure, and it still does today. You know, like, you know, you have to strategically put this in this place and this in this place, and you know, now we have the recruiting dates have changed, and they just, you know, like there's a couple of the dates that we play events here where coaches aren't allowed to even come anymore.
Yeah.
You know, so
well, I don't get, that's the one thing I don't disagree with. Like, why would you make it harder? I understand why they do certain things, and it's to protect.
Right.
But at the same time, like, what are you protecting? Like, you know, at the end of the day, it's about the kids.
Sure.
Right. So again, I understand that you have to protect. If there's loopholes and ways to do things, some people are just, whether it's not ethical or not, they're going to do it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's like the dead periods in high school. When I was coaching in high school, I never understood that. I'm like, so like, I want to help. I'm not getting paid anymore, and you're telling me I can't help this kid out of the goodness of my heart when I know he needs something. I
feel like a lot of times those things that happen, rules get made by people who aren't involved in it.
Oh, that's it.
You know,
you nailed it.
And so it's just that's one of the things that I always think about when I get done in this realm. Maybe if I do go into administration and stuff, you know, it's like I think I want to look back and say, hey, again, we talk about I was there, you know, and it was broken then, so let's fix it now.
There you go.
You know, and I do find that a lot, that people weren't involved in the space that we're in, that are making the rules for our space.
I think that is important to say, though, is like, you know, when they make these changes, at the end, they get it right eventually. Like, you know, I mean, that's how you do things. That's how you grow and everything else. You mentioned you had all these interns, and you have a team now, right? So, dude, that's hard. Just because, like, when you did it, it was done a certain way. For me, it's the 70-30 rule. I know everything that I delegate out, it's going to be done 70% as good or like the way I would have done it.
Sure.
And that's my job, is to train better, one, but understand that the bigger we get, that's just kind of the way it is. But at the same time, if I bring on the right teammates, then that 30% is the magic that they bring, and they're going to make it better than I would have anyways. It's going to have its own little flavor to it, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. And, you know, having the right fit is super hard, right?
Yeah.
Like we used to talk about all the time.
It's got to go both ways.
I think there's those the doers and the idea people.
Yep.
Right? And the doers are the ones who make it.
That's right.
You know, the idea people, there's so many of those out there. Well, I got this idea. Okay, well, how are we going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And those, usually the idea people don't last, and they move on. But I am blessed to have two that have been with me for 2 years now. And, you know, so many times I see in college baseball, young coach or whatever aspect you're in video, they want the now. They want it. I got to get this, or I need this job, and I need. Well, no, you don't know. You need the experience because that's what's going to carry you on the long haul. And so we've spent a lot of time in the last 2 years just learning and making sure. I mean, there's no doubt that my intern now, she could take over. I could leave tomorrow and she can take over for me. And she's the first one that I've had that I could honestly say that I could leave tomorrow and she could take over because she was persistent in getting the job, first of all.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you get this all the time, hundreds of emails about, oh, I want to work in baseball. Oh, I want to work in. No, you don't. You don't know anything about it, right?
That's right.
But she wouldn't stop. I mean, and she was going to come out here on her own dime and work for free as a female.
Wow.
In a male-driven sport, and she's incredible, you know. And she holds me to a high standard, you
That's
know.
good.
And she challenges me at times, you know, and I take that from Coach Corbin, you know, like when I was interviewing with him one time, and he said, you know, I want somebody who's going to challenge me. I'm like, well, the greatest baseball coach in America wants to be challenged.
Absolutely.
You know, but that's why he's great, right?
That's right.
You know, and so that's why I feel like I'm good at my job because she challenges me on the things that I'm not seeing for some reason.
Yeah.
You know? So, but yeah, it's definitely just a process, you know, trust the process.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So there's a lot, you guys do a great job on social media, by the way, and you have before when nobody else really did. All your stuff is really good. But like so my son's 13, he plays ball, and man, like the amount of emails and solicitation and stuff that I get, I know a little better. I know more than most parents. Dude, it's crazy. If I was a parent and I didn't know what I was doing, I would be lost, and I would not be investing any of the right dollars or time and resources into my son's playing career if that's what he wants to do.
Sure.
It's a lot of racket out there. What are you guys? Because you're what are you guys looking for first in players? Obviously, they can play if you're even looking at them, right? So the taking the stuff off the field, I guess, or I guess when you see them when they're not doing well.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to some of the former conversation we've already had today is, you know, like you said, at that point they can all play. Mm-hmm. How are they doing academically? You know, because if you can't get it done off the field academically, you're not going to get a chance to do it on the field.
That's right.
And again, we go back to how they handling their business, you know, and, you know, as part of the recruiting part is, you know, those kids that you coach, 15 of them or whatever you have on your team, like you spend more time with them than anybody outside of their parents probably, right?
That's right. So
I want to know how were they for you, you know, when they were 12 to 15, you know, because, you know, their path is probably not going to change a whole lot. If they worked hard for you, they're probably going to work harder in the future, you know? And so I want to talk to their guidance counselor. I want to talk to, you know, this is crazy, man, how in depth we try to get with this because, you know, at our school, the highest honor a baseball player can win is the Dugan Award, right? Mm-hmm. So I try to ask myself, and it doesn't always work this way, but I try to say, can he win the Dugan Award? Does he have that burning desire to be a champion?
Gotcha. That's, you know? Fantastic.
And I mean, if you think about it, the burning desire to be a champion, I mean, it's the same in business. Like you have the desire to be the best at what you do in business, right?
That's right.
So I have to try to dig and say, you know, what does it mean? What does it take to be a champion? You know, I mean, you really want to know, you need to probably watch the Derek Jeter documentary.
It was fantastic, wasn't it?
Fantastic, man. And I'm not a Yankees guy at all, but just you have to respect,
absolutely,
you know, what he did and how he went about his business, right?
Yep.
And so those are, and again, Derek Jeter's not the most talented baseball player to ever play in the major leagues.
Correct.
But he did everything else right.
That's right.
And he was rewarded for that.
That's right.
I think that those are the main thing for us. It's just the Jeff talks about the 5-tool player, but more importantly, the 5-tool person.
There you go.
You know, especially at a place like ours, because we're not going to get the elite athlete always. But if you can be that 5-tool person, that can make up the ground for the elite player.
You guys do as good of a job as anybody that I've seen with your alumni, keeping them engaged, involved, a part of the family. You know, since I left Trevecca, there's been quite a few coaches, and they all left for the right reasons. None of them got fired, and it's a great program. However, I've been introduced to the new coach there. Haven't met him yet. I haven't stepped foot on that campus in 4 or 5 years probably. And quite frankly, the last time I stepped foot on campus is when they asked me to. You know what I mean? But like, I don't get a lot of communication from them. Now other coaches were different. Some I did, and they had an alumni game I used to always go back to and all those things. And I don't anymore. How do you guys, what's the secret sauce to keeping, like, that's a job in itself because the alumni list grows bigger every year.
And people change their email addresses and phone numbers, and people move, and social media. And, you know, Trooper Taylor, football coach, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, was an assistant when I was at Tennessee, and great recruiter. And I think it's the same with alumni, where you're recruiting your alumni too, right, to come back and be a part of. He used to always tell me, recruiting's like shaving. If you don't do it for one day, it shows.
Oh, wow.
And so that's, we try to give them a little nugget every week, or an update, or, you know, hey, just a reminder on their calendar. Or
I get 2 or 3 emails a week from Lipscomb right now.
Yeah, I mean, just always on their mind. You know, like, trust me, I'm thinking about you guys. I say you guys, I feel like you're an alumni, but I think about every single person who's been there before I got there, and the guys that we have coached, because it's their program. Yeah. It's not about me. It's not mine. You know, I'm just helping drive the bus.
There you go.
You know, and I want to leave it better than I found it. And, you know, there's nothing better than I love to see those guys come back, or the text messages after we beat Notre Dame from the guys who've been a part of something like we're doing, and be like, yes, man, I wish I was in there with you. Well, you are in there with me.
That's right.
You know, this was just for much as for you as it was for us, you know. So
I was on a cruise ship with very limited Wi-Fi when you guys were playing, and I kept hitting refresh on the score on there because I wanted to know, man. That was a big deal.
Yeah, it was, and you know, it's only going to get bigger from here. But our kids played hard, and you know, I think the more times you put somebody in a tough environment like that, they're going to adapt. Kids are resilient. You know?
You win or you learn.
Yeah, that's right.
You win or you learn.
Yeah.
Talk to me more about the again, I'm fascinated with, like, baseball's a business, even at the college level. Geez, now with all the changes to NIL and what little bit I know about all those things, I think it's cool. I think there's, you can find good in anything if you look hard enough.
Yeah.
But it changed the whole entire dynamic and layout of what you guys do and how you do it, right?
Right.
So you're staying on top of those things, keeping everything that's already in motion, rocking and rolling. You guys have had the facilities over the last 2 decades. The growth of the campus has been unbelievable. It ain't fun playing in the middle of construction all the time. We're living in it right now at home. It's not great. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But like where did you learn all those? Was it just you thrown in the gauntlet and you learned on the job? Because it sure didn't feel like it. Or, you know, like how did you figure all those things out? Keep growing, keep scaling, but keep the foundation and the fundamentals of everything that you've built up, built from, I should say.
Sure.
How have you been able to just stay on top of all those things for 2 decades in the business?
Well, I think you got to start with the vision, right?
Okay.
And I knew what Lipscomb was in the NAIA and how much success they had, and you know, luckily I got to come from, you know, arguably one of the best programs in the country at Tennessee.
Yeah.
You know, got to see what Omaha looked like. And, you know, our coach there, Coach DeMonica, always talked about the map to Omaha and what it would take. And, you know, the resources we have at Lipscomb aren't probably in the top echelon of college baseball, but we got some pretty good pieces, you know. And we have some things that we can do different that they can't do. And so we just had to have that vision and start building step by step. And, I think over the years, it's like we learn what works and what don't work. And, again, it's just believing in what you believe is right and what you believe is the best for you and your organization.
Yeah.
And sticking to it and having those principles, and not straying from, our core values.
That's
what
right.
we believe in. And
Wow.
over time, like, again, the kids start to buy into it. And if they don't, the way the landscape is now, they move on. They eliminate themselves. We don't have to eliminate anyone.
Yeah.
And again, our guys do a really good job of policing themselves, and our alumni has made a huge transition from when I first got there. And I think they know how tough it is, and they know how hard we work at it, and how much we care for them, and they care for us, and it takes a village.
Absolutely.
And we're nowhere close to where we want to be or where we're going, we feel like, but just stay in the course and stay in, and a lot of it can be attested to Coach Forehand and for Lipscomb believing in the man he is.
He's a great leader.
And we had an administrator one time talk about buckets, right? You got 3 buckets. You got the winning,
Yeah.
and you got the academics, and then you got the spiritual development at Lipscomb, right? Well, you better have 2 of the 3 filled at all times.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Because if one of them spills, you got something to go back on, right?
Yep.
And if you're filling all 3 of them up at the same time, you're rolling pretty good.
That's right.
So those are the things and the principles I think that we're built on and that help us sustain and will sustain for a while.
Man, it's such a cool thing to you bring in a kid, literally a kid, and they leave a man. What do you think of? So I'm a big Deion Sanders fan, and I love a lot of the things that they do a great job with their social.
Incredible.
That guy, like, that's somebody, he's on my bucket list to interview. You know what I'm saying? Like, the people that say, who's some people you really want to interview? Michael Jordan, Derek Jeter, Deion Sanders are 3 people that I rattle off real quick every single time. What do you guys like when you see? Well, this is off topic a little bit, but a lot of people were hating on him when he left Jackson State, and he said, "Well, first of all, I'm going where God tells me to go." But look at how good he left it in a short amount of time. What are they griping about?
Right. Right.
What are they griping about? Do you guys pay attention to everything that he's got going on, how he's doing it, and all that kind of stuff?
I do. And it's funny. My former boss at Tennessee, Coach Delmonico, actually recruited him at Florida State.
Get out.
So I've never got to meet him, but I feel like I have a connection with him, and I've heard so many stories about him and his life, and it is remarkable what he's doing and the people that he touches and the things that he cares about more than just football. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely blows me away, the things that he's done. And here's the thing that I say: people don't like him because they can't do what he does.
That's right.
I feel, and everything he said he was going to do, he's done. So,
That's right.
So why are you mad at him?
Yeah.
He made Jackson State predominant.
I didn't even know what that was until he went there.
I thought it was junior college.
I did too.
In Jackson, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And there's a reason. And a lot of people don't know the whole story. That's the thing that bothers me a lot about in college sports. You don't know the whole story.
Yeah.
You just get what you see on TV.
Yeah.
And but I'm telling you, man, I'm a believer. As big as I am a Tennessee football fan, back when we were growing up, Colorado was in their heyday.
Yeah.
With Coach McCarthy and Cordell Stewart and Eric Bieniemy and all those guys.
Oh yeah.
And to get to see them, how far they had fallen off, and now they're hopefully back on. College football needs that too.
Absolutely.
And I think the message that he brings is great.
I've thought that Nick Saban's been great for college sports for a long time, and then now you got him and Deion in there, and it's just it's just such a cool dynamic. He had that little 3-part series he had that came out around Christmas, was really good.
Yeah.
My wife and I watched that one, and we enjoyed it. It's just cool to see how he's like he says, we're taking your boy and we'll bring him back. He'll be a man. Hey, I've watched him walk. There was a clip the other day where he was walking through the gym. Somebody had on white socks. He just says, "Get out."
Yep.
Get out. I love it.
Yeah.
Didn't wear the right socks.
They're standard, right?
That's right.
It's the standard.
That's right.
You don't meet it, you're out.
That's right.
And it's not personal.
That's right.
You know, and we talk about that a lot. It's like everything in our program is personal. You know, we want to know if your grandma was sick. We want to know what you ate. But the lineup card is not personal.
That's right.
You dictate that.
That's right.
Because you didn't live up to the standard.
That's right. And that's how life is. That's how you're going to get paid later. And as a matter of fact, when I was looking for jobs, trying to figure out what I want to do, the last job I turned down, I had no money, flat broke, was about $150,000. I hadn't even seen that much money before. And but I did ask, because somebody had told me, you know, like, you need to be able to, wherever you go, follow opportunity, make sure you can, if you're the best, you should be paid like the best. So that's the question I asked. I was like, so if I'm the best, do I get paid like the best? And I'm like, well, no, he's been here that 6 years or whatever, 10 years. So like, he's going to get paid like the best. I'm like, so if I outperform him, I don't get paid. And they're like, nope. I'm like, this ain't going to be for me then.
Yeah. I understand that too. And that's part of why I started my own business.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be my own boss. Like,
there you go.
I get to do Lipscomb for fun now.
That's right.
You know, and I've had the opportunity to go on to bigger and better things, you know, that some people would say, but Lipscomb's great for me.
Absolutely.
It's great for my family. And, you know, at some point there'll be a time and place where I can't do that anymore. But being your own boss, you know that, though.
Absolutely.
You get to have the freedom and you get to have the responsibility and you get to see things from a different lens as well. I get the best of both worlds now.
That's right.
So.
That's right. And Nashville we're very blessed. There's there's a handful of great leaders and coaches here in this town. Dave Jarvis at Belmont is absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, Coach Forehand is. I'm a little biased, obviously, right? Tim Corbin's is as good as they come. You know, Middle's got a great program, and Coach McGuire and all those guys that came out of that program and how great they are. And it's just we're very blessed in Middle Tennessee to have the programs like we have and the great leaders that are raising all these young men. I mean, there's literally hundreds of young men every year that are getting trained, that are getting led by some of the best in the game.
No doubt. And it's anytime that any of those guys are on your show or anything, like, I stop what I'm doing and listening, because you're always going to gain a nugget from them.
That's right.
You know, and we don't get to spend enough time with those guys because we're all doing the same thing. But they all are not only phenomenal coaches but phenomenal people.
Yes.
You know, and they care about helping other people and young coaches. I mean, all those guys that you've mentioned have poured into me.
Absolutely.
You know, and for no reason. They had no reason to.
Mm-hmm.
And they do it for everybody.
Yeah.
And, you know, not just in baseball, but I mean, there's basketball coaches and football coaches in this town, and I've always said that coaches and teachers, man.
That's right.
Those are the most important people in our society. I really feel like, outside of our, you know, doctors and stuff like that. But
that's right.
Those people are really special.
Absolutely. Well, and like I say, we've been very blessed, and you know, Lipscomb has a rich tradition of coaches. I still come across quotes by Don Meyer that I've never seen or heard before.
You know, I'll tell you this story. Probably one of the greatest sports moments. I always talk about sports moments, right?
Yeah.
One of the greatest and coolest sports moments of my life is before Coach Meyer passed away. He had just come back from the ESPYs and his wreck and all that. And, you know, obviously our athletic director, Philip Hutchinson, played for him.
Who's also magnificent.
Wonderful. I mean, just amazing human being as well. But he put together basically a meeting with Coach Meyer and in our athletic department. And we walked in, and Coach Meyer said, "Sit down, get your pen out."
Wow. And
for 3 hours, all I did was write and write. But it was the most valuable coaching experience of my life because, again, he's been there. He's done it.
Yep.
And he's one of the most revered coaches in the whole world.
That's right.
You know, and he's given me everything he's got for no cost and just loved every minute of it. And I'd have stayed 3 more hours if he didn't have to leave. You know what I mean? It was just boom, nugget after nugget after nugget.
Oh, yeah.
Just pouring it out, you know, and shortly after that we lost him. But one of the coolest and most valuable sports moments of my life.
To be a fly on the wall that day.
In the notebooks and the material that he left us and gave us.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's in my drawer right here every day, and I pull out something and look at it. So it's pretty cool. So,
well, it's again, like everything that that Lipscomb is doing. It's always like delivered to the public the right way. Like all the emails that I get, I study everything because I too learn from everybody, even if it's not, what not to do. All the newsletters and I get from the university, they're just great. And I guess I should I didn't want to throw my old university underneath the bus. I'm not saying they don't do a great job, and there's great people there, and Greg Ruff and all those guys, and I hang out with them, and they still keep in touch. I was just, but I should spend more time there. But quite frankly, I just have stronger relationships elsewhere, and that's just where we end up hanging, But I do need to take my son out there and show him the old stomping ground and all those types of things. But everybody can always get better, and I'm TNU has a great set of alumni, a great list of alumni, and some teammates that I'd love to see again myself that I hadn't seen in a while. Well,
you talking about why were our alumni so successful? I mean, there's guys like you that are at Lipscomb that help me.
Yeah.
And they help drive that bus and that culture. And I see so many similarities in what Trevecca is and is doing and what we did 20 years ago.
That's right.
And they're going to get to that place.
Absolutely.
And Mark's done a great job as the athletic director there. And
he's real good. He has a great son too.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I've enjoyed talking to him a few times here over the last couple of years.
Well, they've done a good job. I need to reconnect. Again, everything's two ways. Yep. So I need to do my part and reconnect with them. Well, man, what is there anything else that there was so many different directions and so many things. I need to bring you back after the season's over to go through some more stuff. But is there anything else that you wanted to leave the listeners and viewers with, or any closing notes or anything?
I don't think so. I would encourage people to, if you get a chance, go to YouTube, all right, and watch something called Y Option.
What is it?
Y Option.
Y Option on YouTube. Got it.
It's Jason Witten's retirement speech.
Okay.
And Jason Garrett, the coach at the time, talks about Jason Witten and the presentation that he gave on the play that Jason Witten always ran. Is called Y Option. And again, it talks about Jason Witten presenting to the team on what Y Option is and why it worked. And it's phenomenal to hear how Jason Witten sees his teammates, and he gave the credit to everybody else. Yeah. And that here at a man's retirement speech and one of the greatest tight ends in football, it wasn't about him.
That's right.
It was about everybody else who made him better. And that's why I've been successful, is I got a lot of people around me that make me better. And I think that's why we're been pretty successful at Lipscomb, is the people around us.
Well, I can tell you everything that's great. Abraham Lincoln said, "A house divided will not stand." Everything that is great, most of the great companies that do the largest companies or largest entities, if they fall, if they just blow up or destruct whatever, it's from the inside out.
Yep.
Right? It's never from the outside in. It's from the inside out. And you guys as a staff, even when people move on to the next thing and new people come in, that's in my opinion, that's why it's going on 2 decades, is because you guys understand how important that is, understand whose people's roles are, and you don't move up by eliminating somebody, you move up by elevating that person up with you, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And you guys are a walking example, a living example of what that looks like.
Yeah. And it's funny, Jeff and I had a conversation with another coaching staff yesterday, and he told them straight up, he's like, "Look, reason me and Ryman survive is we don't always agree, on my decisions, but at the end, when we walk out of this room, we're on the same page." And for whatever reason, for 18 years, I get that. He gets that. He don't always agree with what I want to do either.
Sure.
And that's part of the relationship. It's like your wife. You don't agree with everything she says, or
yep.
But at the end of the day,
that never happens. By the
way. Neither. But at the end of the day, we're on the same page, and
yeah,
and that's what the beauty of it is, and makes it work.
we have a great team here, and they bring ideas sometimes, and all I ask is that we have a set of guiding principles that we run everything through, right? So if you want to bring an idea to the team, it needs to check out all 3 of our guiding principles, and if it does, can't imagine why we wouldn't do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But like, even when they want to do things that maybe like I'm not comfortable with, like I brought them here for that. I brought them here to bring those ideas and to do those things, and that's their role, that's their responsibility, and I have to allow them to do that. And that is very uncomfortable sometimes, but that's how can you grow? Right. That's a skill, by the way. You know what I mean?
100%.
Well, you guys are a walking, living testament to that, and it's cool, man. It's refreshing. In the world that we live in today, it's very refreshing.
Well, I just enjoyed being here, and the guests you have, I mean, how much they help me, and I've told you that at events before. I'm like, man, I get addicted to it.
Oh yeah,
and really appreciate you pouring into other people, and your team here has been amazing.
They do a really good job. The other half of them's in St. Louis, believe it or not.
Oh,
and
wow.
Man, the people that we've got, the people like you that we've got booked for like this year's going to be. Last year was really good. This year is shaping up to be unbelievable because we're already booked out like into April. Wow. You know what I'm saying? We stay about 2 months ahead on all these things, which is why we're talking about things that when this episode comes out, they might be like, what are they talking about? That happened, 6 weeks ago or something.
Sure.
But they do an unbelievable job, and it's important to us that you guys, when you come in, that you have a great experience, and you are somebody, which is why you're here, and you need to be treated like somebody.
I'm just an old country boy from East Tennessee, man, that loves baseball and loves people.
Come on. Well, folks, we will, all of us will see you guys at Dugan Field on the diamond, watching the Bisons play and put together another fantastic season. You can find their schedule at lipscombsports.com, and it's a great place to watch a baseball game. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a special place, and a lot of memories there. And people listening, if you want to come to a game, all you got to do is email me. If you've never been, email me. I'll leave you tickets, and I think you'll want to come back for sure. Absolutely.
And there's 2 other Lipscomb folks that are on my list again. One's Caleb Joseph, the other one's Rex Brothers. But I got to bring Bobby Ogden on this thing because that guy's life is unbelievable.
Bobby Ogden is one of my favorite human beings on this planet, and I could sit and talk to Bobby Ogden forever. He texted me yesterday where he's going to Auburn with me, and we got our list of places across America that we go to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Just an unbelievable, friend of our program, and would do anything for us. And your listeners will love having him on.
Well, he's lived like 2 amazing, like 2 storytelling lives, like from his as a performer with Elvis and everything else. And right when that movie came out, and I saw him at the golf tournament, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to bring you in to tell
Marshall
stories.
Tucker Band.
Oh my goodness, unbelievable. And then but he'll be remembered for a lot for what he's done at Lipscomb,
no doubt. And I think he started as just a friend of Coach Dugan's and having songwriter nights, and when Coach Dugan got sick, it was a big part of taking him places, and he's been our biggest fan, going on the road and taking pictures for our parents, and just being a liaison to them, and just an unbelievable person, but he is I have so many memories of being in places with Bobby, Macon, Georgia, going to the Georgia Music Hall of Fame, and walking through there and being like, yeah, I wrote on this, and I wrote on this with Elvis, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's just phenomenal.
It's so cool. And while we're on Lipscomb too, like big shout out to the Dugan family. I know Coach Dugan just got put into a Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, he did. I actually got to go.
That's fantastic.
Out in Omaha.
What took him so long?
Well, a lot of people don't know this. The College Baseball Hall of Fame is not that old.
Gotcha.
Now, he's in 6 other Hall of Fames already.
Yep.
So they're playing catch up, really. Yeah. So I think, I don't know, they're 5 or 6 years old. So the class, was phenomenal.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I didn't know it either. And started doing my research, and they're actually in Lubbock, Texas, they're trying to raise money right now to build the Hall of Fame in Omaha across from the ballpark. And
that'd be cool.
They very small staff that is really trying to grow it and it being something special, and they're on the verge of it being amazing. But got to go to Omaha with his family, and see them honor him, and another Tennessee legend in Condridge Holloway, who it was just so surreal because Condridge played high school for Coach Dugan's brother in Huntsville, and for them to be there together,
that's unbelievable.
It's just a really cool deal, and to be around Coach Dugan's grandson is a freshman for us. And
I didn't know that either. So is it Mike or Kurt's son?
It's Mike's son.
Mike's son, okay.
Yeah, his oldest. His youngest son is committed to Tennessee.
Good for him.
He's at the academy, and you just talk about like Kurt. His flight got canceled. This is when we had that big ice a few weeks ago. And he was flying from Jacksonville to Charlotte, got canceled, so flew from 7 a.m. into Nashville, got in a car and drove to Omaha, and got to the reception that night.
Wow.
And and Coach Dugan's daughter, Christy, just a crazy turn of events. Like, they get to the airport and realize their dog is in the back of the truck.
What?
So her and her son came on, and her husband got on the later flight. And it was like all these things. Like, you just couldn't make it up. But when it got there to the moment when it counted, everybody was there. It was just Philip Hudson flew out on Saturday for the dinner, and just an amazing.
Well, they were a great family. Working Coach Dugan was a huge influence in my dad's life, me as a teenager, and then his sons. Kurt was the coach of my 17-year-old team with my dad.
I didn't know that.
And that was like, and all their kids are beautiful people, like they're great looking people. So like I'm sure all the moms just loved young Kurt Dugan out there, coaching with us. And then Mike, Mike was a catcher. And I had just started catching as a teenager, and they were just so good to me and so sweet to me. And they may not even remember me today, but like, they were fantastic people, and I haven't seen them in 20 years.
Well, next time you're at Dugan Field, I'll make sure you reunite with Mike at least, because he's there all the time. They're phenomenal people, and glad that they're still a part of the program. Absolutely.
Well, man, it's going to be an exciting season. I know the family and I are going to be out at the ballpark quite a bit. It was used to I had to drag my kid out to those things. Now he's begging me to go. So like, we finally made it. I'm excited.
Well, good, man. I look forward to those days, man. Porter has no choice right now, but he between softball and baseball. But love we went to his first big league game this year, and now he's starting to get into that mode too. So
that's right. Well, folks, we've been hanging with the amazing Brian Ryman, the recruiting coordinator and director of operations at the Lipscomb University baseball team, as well as the founder of the Music City Classic, which is a premier amateur baseball event right here in Nashville that brings in teams, hundreds of teams actually, from all over the United States and other places as well, right?
Yep, and like I said, almost to 400 teams this year, and I think it's awesome. It's done great, helping a lot of our high school programs, to raise money, and it's obviously helped our hotels and restaurants, and
absolutely,
it's just a good thing for everybody.
Absolutely,
makes recruiting a lot easier too when you get to bring them on their dime to our campuses in Nashville instead of us having to bring them back later. But it's just and again, even if we don't get them. We found, with the transfer portal, kids come in the office and we're like, have you ever been to Nashville? Like, well, actually, I played in the Music City Classic.
That's right.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Now we're on to something here.
That's right.
And they're familiar with it. And so that's been a plus, I would say, for all the schools here in Nashville.
No doubt. No doubt. There's like we were talking about before, there's just, baseball's massive. There's plenty to go around for everybody, dude.
No doubt. I mean, and it's growing, I don't know about your son's age, but like I know in the Creve Hall, they told me there's almost 800 kids playing, in Little League this year. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Absolutely.
And I don't see it slowing down.
No, it's growing. Everything's growing. It's awesome. And you can keep up with the Music City Classic at Music City BB on all social media, right? Yep. And you can keep up with Coach Brian Ryman at Coach Ryman on all of his social media as well.
Yep, that'd be the one.
Perfect. Well, folks, we will definitely see you out at the ballpark, out at Dugan Field. Once again, thanks, Brian, for hanging with me today.
Yeah, anytime.
It's been a blast, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Hit Streak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.